Hello, my name is Mia Fogel, and this is my biome presentation on temperate deciduous forests. So, a temperate deciduous forest is a forest that is always changing. By this, I mean that it goes through all seasons. So, it goes through the springtime, the summertime, fall, and winter. The leaves of the trees are green in spring and summer, and the leaves change color in the autumn, and then they fall, and then during the winter the trees are going to be bare. So the definition of a deciduous plant is a plant that loses all its leaves for a part of the year, which is why this is called a deciduous forest, because the trees will lose their leaves during the fall, and then the trees will be bare during the winter. And then these type of forests are also called broadleaf forests as well. So temperate deciduous forests are located all over the world, including eastern United States and Canada, which is actually around where we live. So deciduous forests are located all around us. We see them every day. They are also located in most parts of Europe, some parts of China and Japan, and then a little bit in southern South America, and then southeastern Australia, as well as parts of New Zealand. So the climate in a deciduous forest, I will be talking about the temperature and the precipitation. So to start, there is a lot of seasonal change in the deciduous forests. So daily temperatures range from negative 30 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius, and the yearly temperature average is 10 degrees Celsius. So the daily temperature range is a big range because there are really hot summers and really cold winters. So it's hard to get a very accurate daily temperature range. And then the average precipitation in a deciduous forest is going to be 30 to 59 inches per year. So for the organisms in a deciduous forest, I'm going to start with the plants. So there's a lot of trees that make up the canopy, and the canopy is the tallest part of the forest. So these trees are oak trees, birch trees, aspen trees, elm trees, beech trees, and maple trees. And then these trees are unique to the deciduous forest biome because they lose all of their leaves every fall. So pictured here at the top left, I have the oak tree, and then below that is a maple tree, and then over to the right side, I have a birch tree. So there are also some smaller plants that are more near the forest floor, like shrubs, lichen, moss, ferns, and wildflowers. Moving on to the animals. For reptiles found, we have frogs, toads, snakes, and salamanders. Those are some examples. And then examples of some birds that we can find are woodpeckers, robins, jays, cardinals, owls, turkeys, hawks, and eagles. Some small mammals are rabbits, otters, beavers, raccoons, porcupines, and squirrels. And then some larger mammals that we have are bears, white-tailed deer, moose, and foxes. All of these animals are unique to this biome because they can live in extreme weather conditions. So they can live when it's really hot outside in the summers, and they can also live through some really cold winters. So some examples of some animals that I show you here on this slide. So we have a black rat snake, which is at the top left corner. So these are not poisonous, and they eat rodents, rabbits, and birds. And then to the right corner, I have a bald eagle. These eat fish and small birds. And then the bottom left corner, I show a black bear. These eat fish, insects, and smaller mammals, but they also eat some berries and grasses, so this makes them omnivores. And then raccoons, which are on the bottom right corner, are the same way. They are also omnivores, so they eat some berries, grasses, some plants, and then they also eat small mammals, insects, and fish, as well as a lot of different garbage, so they'll basically just eat anything. So these are just some examples of the predators in the temperate deciduous forest. And then I also show a food pyramid here. So at the bottom are the primary producers, so the trees, shrubs, ferns, grasses, and flowers. And then above this are the primary consumers, so they will eat the plants. So we have insects, squirrels, white-tailed deer, some birds, and then rodents. And then above this, we have the secondary consumers, which are some amphibians, raccoons, birds, and a fox. And then above that, we have the tertiary consumers, which are the top predators, and that is, for example, a bear. So some environmental threats that we have for the temperate deciduous forest are human population. So this is a big one. Before humans started taking over the temperate deciduous forest, they were calm, they didn't have any interruptment. So when humans started to populate into the forests, we started seeing development and agriculture. So people started farming the forests because of the rich soil. And then this also led to a plume of sediments flowing into lakes. So the lakes are getting polluted with sediments that aren't supposed to be there. And then we also see logging, which is what I have shown here as an example. So this is just cutting down trees to collect wood. So a little side note about logging. This picture that I showed here is actually something that I see up north at my cabin, about 5 hours north in Wisconsin, right outside of our neighborhood on one of the snowmobile trails. Every time you go past, there is always a picture that looks exactly like this. There's logs all over the side. So it's kind of sad just to see how much logging goes on every year because there's always logs there. So this is something that I see every year when I go up north. So this logging causes a loss of habitat for animals, and it also changes the environment because the forest floor is then exposed to sunlight, and there wasn't an exposure to sunlight before because the canopy was there. Another thing that is a threat is acid rain from coal burning. So this can be harmful to the plants and animals, obviously, because they are not used to the acidity. And then another threat is global warming. So this is the changes in the weather patterns, so being extra hot when it wasn't as hot before, or extra cold when it wasn't as cold before. So the plants and animals are not used to this. So some ways to help the environmental threats. So on a bigger level, there is Global Forest and Trade Network. So this safeguards the world's forests and the ecosystems within them. There is the Forest Stewardship Council. This certifies it's well-managed forests. So they manage the forest. They try to plant trees when they take them down. And then this is called zero net deforestation. So every tree that is cut down, they plant a tree. So that is a way to help. And then on a more personal level, you can help by only purchasing paper and wood that is FSC certified, which is the Forest Stewardship Council. You can use less paper, so when you're maybe writing down notes for school, you use both sides of the notebook paper instead of just one. And then making sure that you're recycling all paper and wood products, and then also reusing them when you can. And then also driving less in the car, so carpooling, public transportation, if you could walk somewhere or ride your bike, this really helps to limit the acid rain. And so that's the end of my presentation, but I also wanted to show you guys some pictures that I have personally taken up north at my cabin when I visit more of the deciduous forest up there. So these pictures here are showing the spring and summer months. So the picture on the left is during the spring. It's more wet out and the trees are just starting to grow back its leaves. And then the picture on the right shows more of the summer months, so it's drier out, more hot, and then the leaves have been grown back for a couple months. Here are some pictures from the fall, so the leaves are starting to change colors, and as well as some of the plants on the ground as well. And then here I have a picture from the winter, so most of the leaves are not on the trees besides the evergreens in the back, which are mostly found in the taiga biome, but sometimes they cross over. So here there are no leaves on the trees from the winter. And then here are just some animals that I have pictures of. So the butterfly on the left here, I tried to look up to see what kind of butterfly it is, and I believe that it's an Aphrodite fritillary. So I think that's the kind of butterfly that is. I just found that in my yard. And then over on the right is a white-tailed deer that I also saw in my backyard. So that is just some of the pictures that I personally took. I wanted to show you guys what you can see when you go outside and look at the temperate deciduous forest. Thank you for listening to my presentation.